Well, I stand up next to a mountain, and I chop it down with the edge of my hand. I pick up all the pieces and make an island. Might even raise just a little sand. Hey, it's Marco Pelosi III, and this is the Top Cosmetic Gynecologist Podcast. Overcoming adversity and having fun while doing it, in the words of Jimi Hendrix, might be the best possible executive summary for today's deeply emotional episode. Lord knows I'm no voodoo child, and I didn't mean to take up all of your sweet time, but I'll give it right back to you one of these days. Hustle, muscle, sex, and medicine. I'm interviewing three very interesting people on today's podcast. The first is an energetic entrepreneur based in Southern California. The second is a nationally ranked fitness competitor. And my third guest is a rising star in the field of sexual medicine and aesthetic gynecology. Now, here's the twist. They're all the same person. Meet the one and only, the supremely talented, the mother like no other, from Newport Beach and Redlands, California, Dr. Shyrlena Bogard. Hi, Shyrlena.
Good morning. If only I had an introduction like that every day.
Well, thank you for taking the time to be here today. I met you in San Diego a couple of years back, but I discovered you on Instagram. You look like you're the happiest person on Instagram. And for everybody out there, all of the links are going to be posted on the show notes. So why don't we just cut to the chase and start with the latest news first. What are you doing in California?
Wow. It's been a total roller coaster. But last Thursday actually, I launched the second location for my new practice in Newport Beach. And so I am finally at that point of opening doors to see clients in my new practice that's it's aimed at helping people with their sexual health concerns. And so for both men and women, and it was a very exciting night.
That's awesome. Now, you said it's the second location. What is the first location?
Redlands, California, which is in the Inland Empire, and the second location is in Newport Beach, 2 blocks from the ocean. Very, very beautiful location.
Now, for those people that are not California native, how far are you from Los Angeles?
Yeah, that is the test. How far are you from LA? I would be about an hour in either location. Each is about an hour withstanding California traffic, but about an hour's drive.
And to go from Redlands to Newport Beach, what's the commute like? How long does it take you?
Ooh, that's actually about an hour and a half sometimes as well.
All right. So your new location is what? Tell me what it's all about. What is the name of it, and what do you do there?
So I am the medical director in a wellness spa. It's called OC Pill Bar. And I met the owner who she had been gifted this facility and really was trying to look for something to make it more unique. And so before she met me, they were doing facial procedures, not anything that much different from most of the other spas in California. And as you know, in Southern California, there's a spa on every corner. And life would have it that we met. I was in the process of looking for a location to house my practice, and she was looking for something to make her office more unique. And so we met, and over a couple of months, we realized we could work well together. one of the things I've learned over the past years is that business and medicine don't always work very well together. And so it took a while to find someone where I had that perfect fit. And, so her practice is called the OC Pill Bar. And again, they were doing facial pills. And so I'm in now. My practice is Intimate Health. But I'm just going to go in under my name, Dr. Shyrlena Bogard, as their medical director and bring in some medical health procedures.
That's great. And as part of your launch, now your launch is like a week ago, right? You just opened this thing.
Yes. So we did the Redlands office 2 weeks ago and the Newport Beach location a week ago.
And how has the reception been? I know it's early on in the campaign, but what are you feeling and what are you getting back as feedback?
Well, this is the thing. I've been doing, while I was looking for a location, I do a lot of educational talks. And at the end of every talk, it's where can I come see you? Where can I come see you? Which kind of made me want to stop doing a lot of the talks because it's really it's a disservice to patients, clients, or your business when you market it before you actually have the product. And so while I was invited to do talks, I hesitated a little because I wanted to make sure I actually had the product, which was my practice. So now that I finally opened, I actually have a lot of women who, mainly for the women, it's helping them with their hormones because I do bioidentical hormones and it's really difficult for sometimes for them to find a quality place with the physician who actually cares and understands and makes it about them. There are lots of hormone mills out there and people get tired of that. And so the reception's been really good because I've kept my name. As you see on my social media, I try to stay engaged and connect, and I do a little bit of the education. And so because I've kept that going in the process of looking for a location, I already had some people who were literally waiting to get on the books.
They always say in the social media world to double down on your strengths. And you seem to be very, very strong and engaging when speaking and when just meeting with a crowd. So maybe that's not a bad thing that you're doing this extra work because eventually you'll be able to put that on the back burner a little bit and the business will be flowing. It's tough getting started, but what made you change, and what were you doing before you started with Redlands and before you started with the OC bar?
So I'm a OBGYN by training. I worked in a private practice in Illinois for the first 7 years of my career out of residency. And I knew from day one that it was not going to be the end for me. Even during residency, I knew there was going to be an end date to me delivering babies just because I knew I wanted to sleep at night at some point. I'm 47 right now, and I always say I don't have the snapback like I did 10 years ago. When you wake me up at 2 or 3 in the morning to deliver a baby, I'm up for the rest of the night. So there came a point when I said, and it was at the 7-year mark. I guess I had that 7-year itch of what now? And I left my practice in Illinois and moved to California, for a business partnership, which didn't go as well as I had anticipated. So I had to leave that. And I've been doing locums work over the past 2 years now to sustain the income while I was slowly honing in on what it is I wanted to do with my career. So I've been doing a lot, which I'm actually on a locums assignment right now in Northern California. But so I've been doing a lot of locums, and I did some hospitalist work just to keep the money coming in while I was building the practice.
Well, that's the hustle part of the story there.
Yeah, that's a real hustle.
You point, you shoot, and you execute. What did it feel like though? You're in Chicago or Illinois, and you say, I just want to pick up and leave. I mean, how much anxiety was going through your mind? How much uncertainty? Did you really have a plan, or you sort of had more hope than strategy? What was going on?
I was never scared. I anticipated that it was going to be a roller coaster. I spent so much time on getting YouTube. I mean, that's became my teacher. So I spent a lot of time listening to other entrepreneurs who had gone out and their stories of, you fall 7 times, but you get back up 8. You just anticipate that there's going to be some bumps in the road along the way until you find that happy place. And so I anticipated that things weren't going to be perfect right out the door. But number one, I'm originally from Tennessee, and the winters in Chicago are brutal. And we had that winter where we had the vortex where there were the negative 40 degrees. And I said, this is not humanly possible for anyone to live in. This is my last winter here. And so it was an easy move for me to move to California, to Southern California at that, because I love the ocean and the mountains and the weather's just beautiful. So I think sometimes life prepares us for what's ahead. When I worked in Illinois, I was in rural Illinois. I had no family around me. And when my daughter left to go to college, I was 100% by myself. So I had already gotten a lot of practice at being without family and friends. But I did meet some friends along the way who became my family in California. So initially I was all by myself in this new place. No real foundation for my career, no real foundation for family, but it wasn't scary. I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's just, I think there's just, when you have that entrepreneurial spirit, you recognize that things are just going to be rocky and you go with it. And every time you fall down, and I always say, if you make it through, I made it through residency as an OBGYN. If you can make it through that, you can make it through anything.
Now, were you like the trailblazer in medicine in your family, or did you come from a medical family?
No, I am a first-generation college student. So not only am I the first to finish college, I'm the first to go on to any level of advanced education in medical school. So yes, I was the trailblazer. And again, for me, and I know you don't know a whole lot about my background, but I had my first baby when I was 14. And then I had my daughter when I was in undergrad. And I knew that I wanted my kids to have better and different than what I had. And so whatever it took to make that happen is what I was willing to do.
Wow.
So
you're my hero. You're my hero. That's amazing. Your story, 14, and you're here.
Yes.
That is fantastic. I mean, you must have such a close bond with your 14-year-old because you're almost the same age.
Well, this is true. He actually, my son has cerebral palsy. He was born at 35 weeks, and so he had meningitis. He had GBS. He was GBS positive, and so he had meningitis, and he now has cerebral palsy, and he's developmentally delayed. So he has to develop probably mental capacity of a 3-year-old. But you know what? I look at him sometimes and get envious because he has so much joy. Like, he doesn't know the aches and pains of the world. And so he has this joy of a child that sometimes I think a lot of us could use. That's
amazing. I didn't know this, and how would I? We just started talking, but wow, that is special. I'm speechless, and it's hard for me to be speechless. Anyhow, let's move forward a little bit. So you're in residency, and between residency and now, you have a physique that looks as if you're on stage in the bodybuilding world. But what you explained to me is that your sport is called fitness competition. Is that correct? Figure competition. Let's go. How did you get started in the figure competition world?
So I've always been athletic. I'm an only girl. I have 3 brothers, and in my neighborhood growing up, they were all boys. My cousin and I were the only 2 girls. So I've always been into sports and pretty athletic. In residency, as life goes in residency, I was living off of the peanut butter and crackers in the patient refrigerator, and I started gaining weight. But there's very little you can do about it because you work 24, 36-hour shifts, so you're not able to get out and go work out. Well, it just so happened that one of the ER residents who was rotating through his labor and delivery rotation was an ex-bodybuilder. And so we were on labor and delivery one night about 2 a.m. and I was complaining about all the weight I was putting on, in this residency, blah, blah, blah. And he said, you should start training with me. And I took him up on it. And then one day during the training, he's like, you should do a show. And I'm like, there's no way I'm putting on a bikini and getting on stage and letting someone judge me nonetheless. That's just not going to happen. And he's like, well, let's just train. Well, we did train. And finally I said yes. And I actually won my first show in the amateur division for figure. And I got hooked. And it wasn't so much getting hooked to the stage. It was the discipline that it took to prepare to compete, because that discipline overflowed in every area of my life, especially if you're doing this during residency, which requires a lot of commitment, a lot of time in order to be able to eat the meals and to get the workouts in and be a single parent. It literally required a lot of discipline. And I found that my life was less chaotic when I was training for a show than in, the in-between times when I wasn't. And it seems like, I was all over the place. And so I kind of got addicted to that structure and the discipline of training.
So how long did it take you to go from overfed resident to physique competition winner? How many months or years was that from the beginning to the win, to the first contest?
Let's see. We started training, and I remember it very distinctly because I went the day before we started training. I went out to dinner. I don't remember what restaurant it was, but I was like, I want 2 of everything. And I literally had 2 desserts because I knew I wasn't going to have any for a while. So we started in July and the competition was in October. And typically for a show, the training is about 12 weeks, 12 to 16 weeks.
So you did it in half the time. How old were you then?
Ooh, I had to be close to 30. I started residency when I was 28. So close to, 30, 31, somewhere up in there.
So you were young, but you weren't super young. But I guess your hormones were still in pretty good shape.
I still had excellent hormones, obviously, because and I was, when I got into bioidentical hormones, it was because my body stopped responding. And I'm like, something's going on here. And that's literally how I got into bioidentical hormones, the anti-aging medicine, because it first started with my body wasn't responding, which helped me to understand what my patients were going through.
All right. Now, this part, if you want, I'll remove it. But did you use any substances to enhance your performance?
No. I actually, my hormones. So initially everything was fine with me just following the diet and, the exercise and that I was recommended by my coach. Well, when I was around 40, when I was, I was following everything, but my body composition wasn't changing. I wasn't putting on muscle or anything. And so I found, believe it or not, it was a nurse practitioner who helped me, not another physician. But it opened my eyes. And so when we did my first hormone panel, my testosterone level was less than 7. Well, 7 was the limit of the machine. So I'm sure I had none. And subsequently, I had no growth hormone. And so performance enhancing, no, but I always optimize my hormones, and from a medical standpoint.
Now, when you first started training and you were in residency, what did a typical day look like in terms of structure? Like the workout part, the work part, the sleep part? What was that like if you broke it down?
So when the first competition I did, as luck would have it, I was on my labor and delivery rotation and those are 3-month rotations. So, which was pretty good because that meant I only had a intact 12-hour working. So I would work nights. So my day would look like this. I would go and do my night shift. I think we went in at 5 or 6 or something. And I would get off at 7 in the morning. By the time we finished sign out, it was 7:30. I'd leave the hospital and go to the gym, which was about 5 minutes away. And I would always do my cardio which about an hour, cardio and abs. And then I'd go home and sleep. So I slept from 9 to 1-ish. Then I'd get up at 1. I'd eat. Then I'd go to the gym and do my lifting and come home. By that time, my daughter was coming home from school. And so when I'd come home from the gym, it would be time for her to get up for school. So I'd get her ready for school. Then I'd sleep. And then I'd get up and go do my lifting before she came home from school, so that the hours, between 3 and 5 before I went back to the hospital, I could kind of sort of be a mom. And all of my food I cooked only 2 days of the week. So I'd cook on like Saturdays and Wednesdays, and I prep all of my meals for the entire week. And then I'd kind of do the same with my daughter. Obviously, she was younger, so she wasn't having any of that chicken and rice foolishness. So I'd make little things that were easy for us to pop in the microwave for her during the week, just to make sure I stayed on structure. So it was work out, sleep, be a mom, work out, sleep, be a mom. And I just, rinse and repeat and did that over and over.
Is that the same structure you use now, or is it a little bit different now that you have all these commitments and it's a different lifestyle, less structured generally?
Oh my God. Well, over the past year, because doing the locums work, I do a lot of traveling. When I first moved to California, there was not 10 straight days that I lived and I was not on a flight somewhere. So there's a lot, which makes it difficult to train. When I'm home, I get up and I work out in the morning. So I'm up at 4:30 in the gym, 5 to 6:30, depending on what time I need to be at the hospital when I'm working. So I work out in the mornings, and then I work for the day. And then sometimes I'll go and I'll do a little cardio at night. And now that I'm getting back because I want to get back in shape to get back on stage next year, I'm getting back to that level of structure of getting up at 4:30, training in the morning and work, and then go and do a second light cardio in the evening.
That's a pretty good schedule. I mean, even for a busy person, even for somebody that's got time to do these workouts, that's impressive. Now, I was reading on your Instagram feed or your Facebook feed that recently you met Dwayne Johnson. Is that correct, or did you just sit near Dwayne?
No, so I didn't meet him. It was a couple of years ago at one of the national competitions in Pittsburgh. And he was in like 2 rows in front of me. And I was like, is that The Rock? Is that The Rock? And it was The Rock. And what I posted on Facebook it was a story about him and his ex-wife, Danny. How, although their marriage ended, their relationship continued, and how she became his manager and really helped to make him the big person that he is. And when they went through their divorce, it was his request that she remained in his life, because the relationship, although that relationship ended, there was a greater relationship for the two of them. And so she is a physique competitor, and she was competing in this national show to become a pro competitor. And he was there to support her. Well, most of the people in the audience thought he was there for a family member and thought it was his niece. Well, it turns out it was his ex-wife he was there supporting. And she won, and she became an IFBB pro at that show, and he was there.
Now, you're not a pro. You're an amateur. Is that correct?
I'm an amateur, yes. So I've competed nationally, but you have to win nationally to be a pro.
Did you compete against The Rock's ex-wife or not?
No, she's in a physique, which is a lot more muscle than I have. I compete in figure, and I'm actually moving down. I'll say moving over. Bikini competitors to get upset, but I'm moving to bikini, which is a little less muscle. It's really hard. You have to eat a lot to maintain that level of muscle, and I don't want to do that. And I tore my bicep tendon a couple of years ago. And believe it or not, the injury probably occurred in the gym initially, but it was doing all the C-sections and the rotational move, trying to wedge the babies out, exacerbated it. And so finally I had to get surgery in 2017. And that was my last competition. I stopped lifting after that. So
you haven't lifted in 2 years?
I haven't done heavy lifting like I was when I was training for figure. So I still lift now. And I will say I probably still lift more than most of the guys in the gym, but not like I used to. So, but now I'm getting back to that structured training, more so than just staying in shape.
So how many calories do you eat in a day?
Oh my goodness. When I'm one of those people, like I need to keep everything simple in my life. So I've always had a coach whenever I was training for a show, and I just ate whatever they told me to eat. Period. I never cared. Like I would eat the same thing, 6 meals a day, 7 days a week. It didn't bother me because, I had a goal and I was eating for purpose. So the reason I say that is I really can't tell you how many calories I ate. I know that I ate 6 meals a day, every 3 hours, day in and day out. I had about anywhere from 20 to 30 grams of protein in every meal. Depending on where I was, the carbs would change and then the fat was consistent. So I don't know. I know macros.
Now, when you were competing, was it very competitive, or was it a friendly environment? Were people trying to undermine each other psychologically? I know Schwarzenegger talks about this all the time, about how he was actively trying to create mental anguish for his competition.
Oh, it's very competitive. Women are ruthless. It's very competitive. Because everyone's in it to win it. You have gone 3, 4, 6 months. There are people who train for a year for one competition, and you don't do it just because you want to put on that pretty bikini and sashay across the stage. They come because they want to win. And I'm not going to say that we sabotage one another, because women, we do support one another. But because we want to know that if I beat someone, I want to know that she was her best on stage. And so it's just this double entendre thing that we do is I want you to be your best, but I do want to beat you, but I want you to look good, but I'm going to beat you. So.
You have a very obvious physical presence, and yet you're also a very cerebral person. So does it bother you that some people just look at you superficially and they don't really see past the visual, and they say, I'm only going to look at this person. I don't really want to engage with this person. Does that bother you? Does that really come into play at all?
It's my love-hate relationship with social media. Because I'm like, I'm always like, no, but I'm smart. It drives me nuts that I can, and I've done this with myself to show people, because I can post something on social media and it can be very, very, it can help someone, truly help them in their life, and no one looks at it. If I slap my picture on it, within minutes, there's 100 likes, and it drives me nuts that people stop at superficial when it comes to everything. And so, but I have learned, and I'll be honest, I have learned that sometimes my looks can get a door open for me. Now, it won't keep me in the room. I have to show up and I have to perform and I have to, whatever it is I'm doing. But sometimes, because people are superficial as they are, I will say that I have learned that it will get a door open sometimes. People will listen to you differently. But yes, it does drive me nuts, because most of what I do is to help people live better lives. I don't want you to watch me live a good life. I don't want you to watch me be healthy. I want you to be healthy. And so that has become my struggle with social media, and how to attract the attention, but to get people to see the message behind things. And so I'm working on that.
Yeah, well, that's what celebrities usually get, but more often than not, their celebrity doesn't have the brain; it just has the attention, and they start blurting out nonsense. But I think it gives you a platform, and that platform eventually cuts through the noise, especially on podcasts and things where they have to listen and engage to the content of what you're actually saying.
And that's that's one of my goals now that I'm launching the office. We will be launching a podcast here soon. And so just get the message out. Just keep saying it over and over and over again.
Well, let's talk about the entrepreneurial tactics and knowledge and things that you're finding useful in the launch of this new business of yours. So What would you say was a pain point that you overcame, or some knowledge that came your way in a way that accelerated the process that you're in now?
Having confidence in myself. When I first started, I knew that I lacked a lot of the business and the financial education. And because of that, I would enter into things that weren't necessarily beneficial for me, but thought that, okay, well, this person has that. They're going to be honest and on the up and up. And it wasn't always like that. And so I literally say it took me hitting my rock bottom where, everything was gone, and finally understanding that, number one, the only thing I need to get started, I already have. I have all the knowledge. I have the passion, the drive. So start where I am with what I have. Take that first step. And if you take the first step, what you need for the next step will show up. And that's literally what I did. Was I realized, Shyrlena, you have everything you need to get started. Don't worry about what you need to cross the finish line. That's going to show up when you get there. All you need is to take that first step. And I keep taking a new first step every day.
That's great. That is absolutely great. So, of all the things that you do, what do you love the most?
What, in the office?
Well, you can pick one of each, or you can pick what's your all-time favorite thing to do.
Honestly, I will say I love seeing people get hope again about their lives. I had a patient in the past, and I tell this story a lot because it just really, it touches me, but it exemplifies, as I can, name any patient, but a patient who had not been able to have sex for 8 years. She hadn't had sex in 8 years, and she lost a 10-year relationship because of it. Now, she suffered from lichen sclerosis, and those in the gynecological world know lichen sclerosis is a beast. And it just gets worse over time. And she'd been on the steroid creams and had, her clitoris was completely covered. And when she first saw me, I couldn't even insert a pinky. And it was just so painful for her. Well, to make a long story short, 3 follow-up visits later, she says to me, "Guess what, Dr. Bogard?" I'm like, "What?" She goes, "I masturbated last night." I'm like, "Oh." And she goes, "And it didn't hurt." And she says, "And I was waiting for the pain, and the pain never came." And she says, "And the next day I had to test it. So I masturbated again, but I did it longer." And I'm like, "Oh." And she says, "And guess what?" I said, "What?" She says, "I orgasmed." Now, that was a win that she was able to have sex again. But what really made me happy was when she sent me a text message that she was going out on a date. And here recently, she went to Florida with this guy. She got her hope, her literally, when she first came to me, she's, "Why should I date? Who's going to want me? Nobody wants a woman like this." And now she's traveling, in Florida with this new person. And that's what gives me the most joy, seeing people get their life back.
That's fantastic. That is as life-changing as it gets. So your plans are for, you have a YouTube show coming on. Is that something in the works right now?
Yes. Yes. So I'm going to leverage all the social media. It's, throw that rock out once and hit it all. So I'm going to launch a podcast, and the podcast will be cast live. So you'll see it on Facebook Live, and we'll make the videos to put on YouTube. And then once I have enough of a library, we'll launch the podcast. So I want to have at least 15 to 20 episodes so that when I launch the podcast, it can consistently come out. But while we're doing it, I will, audio record, but also do the video record. And so hit YouTube, Facebook, and the podcast all at once.
Great. Now, are you on social media casually or simply for business?
Right now, it's actually more of my, it's everything that I'm doing. People who have been following me know my career, my personal, every single thing. So all of my accounts now are under my name, and those are my personal accounts. And we're launching the social media specifically under the business name now that the office is up.
So you're the brand. It's you.
Yes, the brand is me.
That's great. That's great. So what is your favorite? Which one are you on the most? Instagram, Facebook?
Facebook. By far Facebook, because I'm cerebral and I like to talk. Instagram is about pictures. I always wonder who are these people who have someone with a camera following them around all day, every day? Like, I take selfies because I'm always by myself. I'm like, how do these people have someone who's there when they wake up, who's there when they're driving, they're grocery shopping, who's taking their pictures? I need to figure that out. Then I can leverage Instagram better.
Yeah, well, it's an art form, I guess, and some people just got the knack for it. But
right,
that's awesome.
But
now, I'm gonna ask you generic podcast questions that people ask on every podcast because they're good questions. If you had to give advice to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell her?
Oh my goodness! You know what? Get over yourself. It's not about you. That's what I would tell her. Because, your message is not for me. Your journey is not for you. And sometimes when we make it about us, and what I mean when I say that is if we keep waiting until we're perfect, it's never going to happen. So get over yourself. Know you're going to make mistakes, but just do it.
So getting that analysis paralysis out of the system is the key to the advice. Now, do you have a long-term game plan, or are you just exploring this field for now to see where it takes you?
Oh, I have a long-term game plan. I actually have a business plan. Long-term, and I want to open the door for other young physicians to come in and to want a cash-based business and to make it turnkey for them. So I don't intend to personally be doing 9 to 5 in the office very much longer. And by very much longer, I mean 10, 20 years. I'm launching on the business side. So my platform is called Intimate Health. And so there's an educational arm under Intimate Health with online courses. But eventually I do want to have a course specifically for healthcare providers that helps them to understand treating sexual dysfunction, sexual management, because there's such a void in education for doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, but to make this something that we aren't so afraid to approach. So there's an educational arm, and then there's a product arm to the business, and then there's the media arm. And so I do have plans to launch, I don't know if I should say this, but to launch a reality show in the office that really looks at a journey of clients as they come in discussing their sexual health concerns. And in 30 minutes, we'll show what happens over a 3-month time frame of coming in with the problem, how we address it, and life on the other side.
That's a fantastic idea. I think it's more engaging than Cops or any of the other reality shows that are out there.
Yeah, just put a positive spin on some of this social media. We can be functional and still be successful.
I'll watch it.
I'll have you on there. We need the experts. We need the experts always.
All right. If Mark Zuckerberg called you tomorrow and said, "Listen, Shyrlena, I'm going to give you Facebook with one stipulation. You're only allowed to post once, but it's going to be the only post on Facebook and the last post on Facebook." What would it say? What's your message to the world?
Oh my gosh.
Everybody will see it, and that's the last thing they're going to see on Facebook, and it's going to stay up forever.
It would be to believe in yourself. You have everything you need to get started.
Awesome. Who do you admire most in any domain of the world? Who are your most admired people that you take inspiration from?
Obviously I admire my parents because they allowed me to be here, but I would have to say it's my grandmother. My grandmother predominantly raised my brothers and me, and my grandmother had a 6th grade education. And because she had a 6th grade education was everything to her. So my grandmother required that my brothers and I read something every single day. And I was a nerd as a child, so I read the encyclopedia every single day when I got home from school. But what reading did was it showed us a world outside of the impoverished surroundings that we lived in. A lot of times people, the environment that they're in becomes their limitations. And so as a child, because I read so much, literally I wanted to be an astronaut. I had two desires as a child, to either be the first Black woman in space or to be a doctor. Mae Jemison beat me going to space, so that was taken off the table, and that is why I became a doctor. But honestly, it was all the reading that I did as a child that showed me there was a world outside of my immediate environments. And so I really have to credit my grandmother that although she had such, only a 6th grade education, she was focused and dedicated enough to make sure my brothers and I had more.
Now, how far did your grandma see you go? Is she still alive?
No, my grandmother passed away when I finished undergrad.
How proud was she?
She was proud, but, let me tell you, this is because I'm single. And my grandmother grew up in a generation where women get married. So every time I would go home and, grandmother, I accomplished a lot. I was even Miss SIU, like the second Black Miss Southern Illinois University. I would go home and, Grandma, I did this, honor roll. But when are you going to get married? It was like nothing mattered because I was single. So, I'm sure she was proud of my educational accomplishments, but she really wanted me to get married.
Now, Grandma is, one heck of a woman. Who else has inspired you more recently?
More recently. I don't want to be cliche and say Oprah, but Oprah's story is always inspiring. Sarah Jakes Roberts. She's the daughter of T.D. Jakes. He's a world-renowned pastor. But his daughter, Sarah Jakes Roberts, she too had a baby during I think she was 13 when she had her son. But the reason why she is so inspirational is because she has literally used her voice to change the lives of women and men around the world. She is the pastor. I go to a church, One LA. It's in LA, obviously. And she and her husband pastor there. And I started watching them on YouTube before I even moved to California. And I knew that is where I was going to go to church. But she now travels and speaks, and she started a platform called Woman Evolved about a year ago, which has just catapulted. But the work she does, just showing her life, that you don't have to be perfect. And she literally, again, kind of like I do, she shows the ups, the downs, the reality of what happens in life. But she's used her voice to build this platform that has helped many women and men to heal over past hurts and to literally find their voice to do the things that they truly desire to do in this world. So I would say Sarah Jakes Roberts.
Well, I find your story extremely inspiring. I mean, when I brought you on here, I thought you were going to have, not such a deep and intriguing story, and I'm totally blown away. It's better than I could have imagined. I couldn't have written a story any better than this. It's really a testament to the strength that you have. So I think we've hit pretty much all the bases. Do you want to tell people anything in particular about your latest services or how to reach you? I'm going to put it in the show notes, but what's the best way to reach Shyrlena Bogard?
So I'm on all social media platforms under my name, Dr. Shyrlena Bogard. And we're in the process of building the website, so it's under construction right now. But the website is www.intamehealth.com. That's INTAME health.com. And the website will have all of the services, and it shows and even the educational stuff. So there's the medical will be on there, but also the educational, because I always want to get out and educate. I think there's power in knowledge. And my goal is that everyone should have the power to manage their own health.
All right. Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to have you on this show.
Well, thank you for having me. And I'm excited to see you in March.
Fantastic. I look forward to it.
All right. Well, have an amazing day and we'll talk soon.
You too. Bye. Share this podcast and this website and this blog with the people in your life who you feel would benefit from this information.